Yeah, glad to be here. Really excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, let's talk about the number 1 overall pick first. All the buzz about Myles Garrett. You in on him as the number 1 overall?
Myles Garrett is the clear-cut best player in the draft. Anyone who thinks a quarterback should go number 1 overall, as the Browns instead, is misinformed. I mean, this guy's a freak. When Clowney came out 2 years ago, I really didn't think that there would be another guy as big, as athletic, as much of a freak of nature, but Myles Garrett is right up there with him. I mean, just the size, the speed. We saw it at the Combine. I mean, this guy is just a rare breed, easily best player in the draft.
Does it scare you in any way that maybe he's just one of those guys that had a freakish Combine and maybe didn't put up the numbers at Texas A&M? Does that concern you at all?
It doesn't. I mean, ever since this guy was in high school, it's no discussion that he's always just been a man among boys. And it really surprised me that people say, oh, yeah, maybe Mitchell Trubisky should go number 1 overall. And, you know, the fact that Warren Sapp came out a few days ago and says this guy is lazy. And that, I mean, Warren Sapp, say what you want about Warren Sapp. You know, he was a great player, but say what you want about him off the field. That's just wrong. That's not a reason. That's not a reason for him to not go number 1 overall. And I think the fact that Warren Sapp was saying that is because a lot of the time Myles Garrett was playing slightly injured. Could be off the field, could have been off of it. He chose to play on it, and he wasn't 100%. And to some people, yeah, you might say, oh, he was lazy. It doesn't look like he's going 100% out there. The same thing happened with Clowney. You know, when you're playing in a conference that's so physical, like the SEC, and these guys are obviously, since the first day they step on campus, they're the best player on the team. So, of course, they're going to be playing 95% of the defensive snaps and all this stuff, and you're going to get banged up, and they're going to leave you on the field, and you're going to want to be on the field, or else if you come off the field, that's something that'll stay with you in this draft process when they're talking about injury concerns. You could say that with Jonathan Allen. For the longest time, people thought he was definitely the number 2 overall pick, and now he's slipping a little bit because people are concerned about the shoulder. And, I mean, I'm a strong Alabama fan. Even though I know that shoulder hasn't been a problem this entire past season, injuries are definitely a concern.
He's Austin Hall, NFL Draft Insider. He's been sending me mocks, like, for months, getting set up for this NFL Draft. Coming up, all right, I want to know what you think about the quarterbacks in this class. Obviously, it sounds like you're not a believer that Trubisky should be number 1, but in looking overall, I know everyone's ready for the crop of 2018 quarterbacks, maybe highlighted by Sam Darnold, but I'm as far down on this 2017 group as I even think last year's quarterbacks in Goff and Wentz are better. Maybe there's a little bias here being locked on Rams, but I still feel like Goff and Wentz are better than this group. And I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan, but I just don't know how that's going to translate.
I completely agree with you, and it's so interesting to see how the selection of quarterbacks have changed in just a number of years. You go back to 2 years ago, it's Mariota and Winston. These guys are multiple-year starters. Each of them have a Heisman. Winston won a national championship. Mariota went to one. And both these guys are so established, such great careers. And then the very next year, Goff and Wentz, they were kind of projects. You know, Goff won, 18 games in 3 years, and Wentz is from FCS North Dakota State. Just that year, 2 number 1 and 2 overall picks in the past 2 years were night and day. And now with this one with Watson and Trubisky, I think obviously being the top 2, it's a little bit, it's similar to both because Mitchell Trubisky started one season, and Deshaun Watson is a lot like Winston and Mariota, where he started for almost 3 years. He won very few games. He capped off his career with the national championship, and I think I like Watson. I like Watson more than Trubisky. I know people are concerned about his accuracy, his interceptions, and like you said, how it will translate to the NFL, but the guy's a freak. He checks off all the boxes. He's a leader. You know, his story is great. And as Trubisky, people are a little bit afraid. Okay, you know, you started 1 year, you had a winning record, but not a lot to show for it, and he could be an NFL star. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I just know there's a lot of Rams people that, maybe not necessarily high on Goff just yet.
Yeah.
But then you see that this draft class and you say, okay, well, if the Rams didn't make that trade and now they're still in need of a quarterback, you're not going to find that guy in this draft. I think if anybody is that, I'd agree with you. It's probably Deshaun Watson. I think Kaiser is a distant third. But, you're stuck with a project no matter what at this point. And I'm just not crazy about this crop of quarterbacks. I think even in hindsight, if I'm the Rams, I'm still okay with my decision in trying to go after and go get your franchise quarterback, that there's still a chance Jared Goff could be, even if he didn't have a great first year.
Oh, I completely agree with you 100%. You know, he played 7 games last year, so the fact that people are writing him off yet is a little bit troublesome. You know, we need to wait for the team to get better, and he'll get better, and he'll bring success. But as for these two guys, franchise quarterback-wise, I don't know. It's tough to say. If Watson ends up on the right team, he'll be a Pro Bowler, he'll win Super Bowls, there's no doubt about it. Trubisky, I don't know. I think it's a definite possibility. I think he's on the same level as Wentz was in terms of size, skill. Wentz had a ton more starts, but you know that's at the FCS. But yeah, I agree with you where you don't look at them and say, oh yeah, they're definitely going to be 10-year starters. They're going to go to the playoffs. Whereas a few years ago with Winston and Mariota, I think it was a lot more easy for people to think that.
Okay, let's get to the Rams for a second here. We're with Austin Hall, NFL insider, especially getting ready for the draft here with the Rams. What they need, the Rams have shown after last year that terrible offensive line. They're clearly not going to try to do that through the draft, as they've gone after several free agents and have done a good job in trying to bulk up that offensive line with veterans. But there are still holes at wide receiver. There are holes in the secondary. Those are the needs. Who do you see maybe in the second or third round that could be a potential target for the Rams if someone were to fall to that spot?
Yeah, no first-round pick this year. You know, we knew that was coming. That was in the Goff trade. Their first pick is number 37 overall, and I think it's down to two positions, and you mentioned both of them. Offensive line, particularly on the interior, and wide receiver. Right now it looks like our top 3 receivers are Tavon Austin, Robert Woods, who we required in free agency, and probably Pharoh Cooper, who's really coming along.
Yeah, I like Cooper.
Yeah, I do too, and I think we need a big-bodied, 1,000-yard receiver that can help Tavon excel in different ways. I mean, we've been watching Tavon for years. He can score 3 touchdowns 3 different ways one week and then be held to nothing the next. And I think he will thrive so much more, and Goff will thrive so much more if there's a taller, more polished route runner who can get 1,000 yards. You know, Kenny Britt and Brian Quick last year and for the years before that, they're both, 6'3", 220. They can run a 4.4, but the drops are just, the drops were such a problem. The limited route running was such a problem. And this draft is absolutely stacked with the receivers. And with 37 overall, there's probably 2 that I really, really like that will be there. And that's California's own Juju Smith-Schuster from USC. Really, really like him. Early last year, Nick Saban, when Alabama squared off against USC, he loosely compared this kid to Dez Bryant. That's really high praise coming from Nick Saban. And also Zay Jones. He was for Eastern Carolina last year. He had over 150 catches, broke the FBS record at Eastern Carolina. He checked boxes all week at the Senior Bowl, had a fantastic combine. And so those are the 2 receivers that I would like to see the Rams take a look at in that pick, but also you really have to look at interior line. And one of the best is Dan Feeney. He's from Indiana. He's about 6'4", 320. Really, really good guard. Could play some tackle. Could even play some center. And if they were to draft a guard with that pick, he would almost definitely start week 1 at left guard because Trey Jackson got waived 3 days ago. And that was such a surprise to me to see because he failed his physical. And when they signed Trey Jackson, I was thinking it was great, but they need a starter at guard, especially after the waiving of Trey Jackson.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that there. About Juju Smith-Schuster, though, that's one of those kind of sexy names, especially here in L.A. Is there any chance that you think he falls as far as 37? I would assume that he would have gone higher than that.
I agree with you, and maybe 2 or 3 months ago, he was definitely a first rounder. He was definitely someone who people thought was the best receiver in the draft. But some of these guys like John Ross and the incredible 40 time he had, and Western Michigan's Corey Davis, who people think can be a Pro Bowler in his rookie year, guys like that have kind of hidden Juju Smith-Schuster a little bit, and I think that'll allow him to slip to the early second round. I think there's no question about it, and I'm thinking 3 or 4 receivers will go tomorrow night. That's Mike Williams, that's Corey Davis, that's John Ross, and I don't think the 4th one will be Juju. I think there's a good chance he'll slip to the second round, and Rams fans will cry for this kid, considering he's from USC.
Yeah, that could be huge. Austin Hall, NFL Draft Insider right now. The other issue the Rams have is in the secondary. And we heard Tremaine Johnson say that he wants to be a Ram, but that isn't exactly the most binding statement just by making that it's going to be a lock down the road. The Rams need some solutions in the secondary. Do you see defensive backs available that are quality in that, I guess, second round and beyond?
One of the deepest positions in this draft is cornerback and safety, and it is absolutely stacked. There are guys all over the place, big schools or small schools, and after they have their 37th overall pick in the third round, 69th overall pick. I'm really thinking those guys will be offensive guard and a wide receiver. If they choose not to, there are a lot of cornerbacks and safeties that could be there. I mean, it's a definite possibility. I read that LaMarcus Joyner's making the transition to free safety full-time, which is good. Like you said, Tremaine Johnson, he's our left corner. He's going to stay there. He has Pro Bowl value, obviously. And across from him, E.J. Gaines is coming into his fourth year. Troy Hill looked promising but struggled a little bit last year. There are some other guys. There's some other guys that play the position. We got Nickel Roby Coleman in free agency. He'll help in the slot. But a boundary guy that I think can really make a difference if he falls to round 2 or 3, I would say Trey Davis White from LSU. This guy he can not only help as a corner, but he can help in the return game. He can play inside and out, and I think corner over safety will definitely be a position that they'll look at in the third and fourth round and beyond.
Awesome. This is great stuff. I really appreciate you taking some time to join us today. And is there any sleepers out there that you expect maybe could go a little high, or any surprises you expect to see tomorrow maybe that no one else is talking about?
A sleeper. I'd say when you get past that 4th, 5th round range, that's when you can really select. That's when you can really get a player that'll make a difference. And I think one for the Rams that can make a difference in around 4 or 5 is Wayne Gallman. He was actually Deshaun Watson's running back at Clemson for a number of years. This guy's a former safety. He plays special teams. He'll be an NFL special teams demon day one. And I think he can really help take the pressure off Todd Gurley, who really needs a running man. I mean, the guy averaged 3.2 yards per carry last season. And if they get a guy like Gallman, running back is a stacked position in this class too. And I think Wayne Gallman is definitely a sleeper. He's a violent running back, and if the kid can stay healthy, he will do damage backing up Todd Gurley.
I'm telling you, there's very few people that are on this planet, I think, that know what's going on more with the NFL draft than Austin Hall. And I'm glad you spent some time with us today. Thank you so much, and hey, enjoy the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. That's Austin Hall, NFL Draft Insider. Really good stuff right there. Hey, all right. Again, the Rams don't have a pick today in round 1. They have the 37th overall selection in round 2 that begins on Friday. My name is Trent Rush. This is Locked On Rams. Be sure to follow at Locked On Podcast and check out all kinds of other podcasts out there as well. And we'll have all kinds of more Rams coverage as it comes along throughout the offseason, and then really ramping things up when we get closer to training camp. I'm Trent Rush. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the draft. And this has been another edition of Locked On Rams. Take care, everyone.
Is democracy in danger?